Welcome back to another episode of Necessary Measures, the channel to help you build stronger connections with your kids. It's Friday, you know what time it is, and today we're talking about reading. So let's get started. So as you can tell from the title of this video, today is all about reading and the importance of reading. I love this topic. I could talk about it all day, but I have curtailed it for you to save you time. And I just want to share some tips on reading, why it's so important, and how you can help build it into your routines. Okay, so really quickly, I'm going to hit you with some science behind certain tips that I do share. And reading is just something that has always been very close to my heart. I definitely, when I was in the classroom, saw the importance of reading to the kids, vocabulary building, just kind of expanding their world through literacy. And so I definitely made it a daily component of my teaching, my classroom. I provided many books. Actually, fun fact, I actually used to find local book fairs and beg my mom to take me to them. This goes back to when I was in 3rd grade, and it was at those book fairs that I would score the teachers' manuals of old curriculum that certain school systems had thrown out, and so I would teach myself and know what the answer should be, so I could know how to get back to the to how to do the problem. So it's really just a fun fact. I've always loved literacy. So we're gonna get into it today. And so first I want to give you some science behind why reading is so important for you to build into your daily habits. Okay, so in terms of vocabulary building, there was an article on ScienceDaily.com, and I will link it below, but it said even kids who are read only one book a day will hear about 290,000 more words by age 5 than those who don't regularly read books with a parent or caregiver. Now, that's huge. 290,000 more words added to their vocabulary just by reading one book a day. It's major. And so it was from the statistics much like this why I incorporated reading into my classroom environment and why as a parent I incorporated it into my parenting. Another interesting fact, the same article, based on calculations that were previously described in the article, said here's how many words kids would have heard by the time they were 5, which is the study was taken into account when kids start kindergarten and their preparedness for kindergarten. So it said if they've never been read to, they get exposed to about 4,662 words. 1 to 2 times per week, they get exposed to 63,570 words. So look at that jump, parents. 3 to 5 times per week, 169,520 words by the time that they're age 5. And if they get read to daily, about 296,660 words. And lastly, 5 books a day, they get exposed to 1,483,300 words by the time that they are 5. Now, 5 books a day, that could be a little tough, especially if it's a newer transition for you. But I think anything is better than nothing. And just imagine, the more vocabulary that a child has, the more that they're able and capable to express themselves and let you know what's going on. And that's something that my husband and I we value very much. Our kids having the ability to have the words necessary to express themselves. And so I think it's just so important that you do that as well and keep that in mind. The importance of reading is all encompassing. Vocabulary building gives them insight into different perspectives, different worlds, right? Because oftentimes kids only know what's around them in their environment and what they see. And just exposing them to, other cultures, other, kids in other parts of the world, how they're living and things like that. And also just the different forms of media, the artwork, the illustrations that different children's books has, I think is incredible. and it shows them the wide range of ways to express themselves. I just think it's great. Okay, so one of the ways that we build reading into our parenting style is bedtime stories, right? We allow the kids to pick a book. We take turns and, a book a night for our bedtime stories. Sometimes it is 2 books a night, but we read a book to all the kids. So before, when we only had Chase, it was very easy to kind of just read, on his level, beginning with like the board books, working up to picture books and graphic novels. But what we have found is that exposure at any age is good. So Corey, who's 2, is getting read at night the same picture books that Chase might pick out, who's 7. For his interest. And at first, I would think that, oh, it's too long for her, or, it's not going to catch her attention. But you know what? That's the beauty of like the illustrations and the different pictures. And sometimes she does get, with Chase books in particular that are a little longer, sometimes she loses interest, but she's still listening. And so that exposure is key, and that's the important thing. Just exposing them to as much language as possible and asking questions, and we'll get into like some of the tips that I have for your read alouds in just a few. So here are some tips for a great read aloud when you are reading with your kids. All right, so tip number 1, use voices. That makes it fun, right? So the different characters that might be in the story, if you're reading about the tortoise and the hare, use a voice for tortoise, use a voice for hare. It keeps them engaged and interested in what's going on while they're doing their learning. Tip number 2, when you're reading a book to your child, make sure that the pictures are facing the student. Too often I have seen read alouds where the adult or the parent that's reading will have the book in front of them. Okay, so for example, they'll like be reading the book and then show the pictures. And I think that it's a missed opportunity there when you read like that, because while you're reading and they're hearing the words, they're able to look at the picture, look at the details, get those clues for what's going to happen in the story, and it helps them, build their literacy in terms of like how a book is held, how, the correct way to hold a book, how to turn the page, and things like that they don't, they might not get on their own, especially if you're reading to an infant. They can't, turn the page yet, but watching you do it over and over will teach them this is how you treat and care and read a book. Tip number 3, although we might have our favorite kinds of books to read to your kids, differentiate what you're reading to them. The different genres, the different styles, the different, artists and things like that. Differentiation will open up their perspectives and just give them different points of view with children's literature. And there's so many to choose from nowadays. It's great. Okay, tip number 4, I kind of alluded to a little earlier, and that is, even though your child might be younger, still expose them to books that might be a little bit above their level. So for example, with infants and toddlers, don't just read the board books that are typically lower word counts per page. That's okay, and it definitely helps their vocabulary and helps build up their vocabulary. But also expose them to some of the picture books that are a little lengthier, a little longer, like right above their levels, if you will. Tip number 5, make reading fun. Especially, I know it could be challenging if this part of your routine is reading at bedtime, and after dinner, after brushing teeth, showers, pajama times. I mean, you could feel tired for sure, but just try to make it as enjoyable an experience as possible, because what's going to happen is that's how they're going to look at reading. That's going to be like their attitude to reading is, oh, I get to pick a book to read tonight. What book are you going to choose tonight? I wonder what we're going to be reading about. things like that, to just kind of help them develop that attitude towards reading, that it's not something that they have to do. Oh, we have to read a book tonight, but it's something that they get to do. They get to choose what world they're going to explore next, and I think that's a way to make reading fun. Also, I know parents that will make it fun by, like, you know, reading with a flashlight, or reading, there's a certain reading nook in the child's room. And I just think that those are ways to help make reading fun and make the kids, you know, look forward to reading and just, you know, make it fun. Another point for making it fun is to choose themed books throughout the year. So for the holidays, have a stock of books on the shelf that talks about the holidays. For springtime, you know, have some books that have springtime and those words associated with springtime in the titles and storylines and all that. That's one way also that you can make it fun, so that they know that every so often my bookshelf gets, you know, new books on it. And even if you're not buying the books, what I did with Chase, especially when he was younger, was we went to the library, and that's the perfect opportunity for about 2 weeks of time to have like a unit or a theme. If you notice that your child is really into dinosaurs, go get some dinosaur books, put that on his shelf for about 2 weeks, read through them with him, and get a whole new set. It just kind of keeps their engagement up, and not having to see the same books over and over in the house, but switching them out, switching them with the seasons. It's a beautiful thing. Tip number 6 is to request books as gifts for birthdays and holiday celebrations. So I think that's a great way to help build up the kids' library, the kids' stash of books that they can go to whenever they want. Is to, you know, in lieu of gifts and toys that you as the parents might already be giving them, you know, ask for books from loved ones and grandparents. You know, if every birthday they at least get one book, I mean, before you know it, they'll be 5 and have like a whole bookshelf full of books from Christmas, from, you know, even Thanksgiving, from like Easter's, from, you know, and that kind of also helps to build their themes up, because, you know, if they're getting a book or for Christmas, it might typically be like a Christmas book, and so at Christmas time every year they're able to kind of just relive those memories, those moments of when they received the book, reading the book with you. It could turn into an annual reading of a certain book. So that's definitely a good idea to kind of keep your stash increasing, is to ask for those gifts, ask for books as gifts. Okay. So I mentioned this earlier about modeling excitement for reading. So you want to also do that while you're reading, okay? So it goes with the different voices that you might create for the different characters. It goes into your excitement for reading and what you get to do, not what you have to do. And I want to shout out, there's a couple that I just adore and I follow. They're the Ellises, and they have a YouTube channel. Khadeeniam has her YouTube channel, and iamdevale. And if you haven't checked them out, they also have a podcast as well, the Deadass Podcast, that I love. I listen to it every week on Wednesdays is when a new episode drops. And so iamdevale shared something in a post recently. I will try and link to that post so that I can make sure that I give due credit for what he said, which he put it so beautifully, and it's just how they are raising their boys is exactly how we're raising, you know, our kids. And he said something along the lines of excitement towards reading, and not just getting excited for, you know, sports and accolades that might come from, you know, the sports and entertainment world, but also getting them excited about reading and getting to, you know, go to the bookstore, pick out new books, having that same energy, if you will, that same vibe with reading as you would with sports will go a long way. So shout out to Khadeeniam and iamdevale. You guys rock. I love it. Thank you for being such an inspiration to young millennial married parents and couples all across the world. So, oh, this falls into another tip about, you know, books in the home and reading. Have children's books accessible to them. So even though it might not be bedtime, if there's a bookshelf that's on their level and that they can reach, they'll go over there, they'll pick a book out, they'll, sit down and randomly read. I love when I see Corey and Chance and Chase, they take these random moments of just like, I'll find them, because when the kids get quiet, you got to go looking, like, what are they into? What's going on? And so, I just love finding them in a corner reading, and making books accessible to them provides them an opportunity to do that. So keep some books on their level, maybe not all the books, but definitely some, so that they can access it whenever they want to. So parents, I hope you see and are learning why reading is so important. I'm sure you're already, reading to your kids, and I'm hopeful that some of the tips that I shared today are going to help you continue to build on your kids' reading. And I want to invite you to add another book to your child's collection. This is the book that I wrote, the children's book, May's Big Dance. I wrote it a few years ago, and then I just got like super hush about it, like, why? I don't know. But this is available on Amazon as well as my website, venessabarnes.com. I'll link to it below, but it will make a great gift. And it's all about, it's not just for girls, although it is, a dance book, if you will. It's not just for girls. It's about building some of those virtues that, I think kids need to have. Self-confidence, determination, listening to, your inner voice. So this will be a good one to add to your collection and support a young author like myself. Also, this might go without saying, books of representation of kids that look like your kids are awesome. It does wonders for their self-esteem, their confidence. I mean, oh my goodness, I love how many books are available that show representation now. I mean, it is just amazing. I love it. I love it. So parents, I would love to know, when do you incorporate reading into your daily routines? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching another episode of Necessary Measures. This was the reading episode, part 1. I'm sure there will be more episodes and parts to come because I have so much to share when it comes to kids literacy. I think it's just amazing for anyone that already incorporates it into your daily routines. Find ways to make it fun, make it exciting, and so yeah, thank you for joining me on this episode of Necessary Measures. I will see you next time. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I so appreciate it. And until next time, see you when I see ya.